You've been thinking about it for days, maybe weeks. You've imagined every possible outcome, the best case, the worst case, all the versions in between. And instead of getting closer to a decision, you've gotten further from one. The more you think, the more possibilities appear. The more possibilities appear, the more confused you feel until something simple becomes paralyzing and you're still exactly where you started, just more exhausted. Here's what overthinking actually is and why thinking more is the one thing guaranteed to make it worse. The real problem, the frustrating part about overthinking is that it feels productive. You're not sitting around doing nothing. You're thinking, you're analyzing, you're being careful. That feels responsible. But nothing is actually moving forward. You're not getting closer to clarity. You're getting deeper into your own head. And the things that matter most to you become the hardest to act on because the stakes make the thinking feel even more necessary. Over time, you start to lose trust in your own judgment, not because you made bad decisions, but because you've spent so long making none at all. Why think less doesn't work. Most people who recognize they overthink try to stop thinking so much. It doesn't work. You can't think your way out of overthinking because overthinking isn't about having too many thoughts. It's about what those thoughts are trying to do. Your brain is trying to eliminate uncertainty before you act. It's running every possible scenario, trying to find the one that removes all risk, the safe decision, the one where nothing can go wrong. But that decision doesn't exist. And your brain at some level knows that. So it keeps thinking, searching for something that isn't there. What's actually happening? Your brain is not built to make perfect decisions. It's built to avoid mistakes. Those sound similar, but they're completely different operating modes. Avoiding mistakes means treating every possible negative outcome as a threat and trying to think your way around each one before taking any action. So when you face uncertainty, your brain runs simulations. If this, then what? And if that happens, then what? And each answer generates new questions, new scenarios, new things that could go wrong. The more you think, the more possibilities appear, which creates more uncertainty. So, not less. So instead of resolving confusion, thinking expands it. That's the trap. It feels like control. It produces paralysis. Why it feels safe to stay there. Here's what makes overthinking so sticky. It feels like the responsible thing to do. While you're thinking, nothing can go wrong. You're not exposed. You're not committed. You haven't failed yet. Every option is still open. Your brain registers that as safety. Thinking equals sign low risk, action equals sign real exposure. So it defaults to thinking, not because thinking solves the problem, but because thinking avoids the feeling of risk. The cost is hidden. While you think, time passes, opportunities move, other people act. But none of that feels as immediate as the discomfort of making the wrong call. So the brain keeps choosing the loop over the leap. And here's the other layer. Once you've spent a long time thinking about something, the weight of that time makes any decision feel even harder. You've already invested so much thought. The decision now has to be worth all of it. So the stakes feel higher. The threshold for ready rises, and you keep waiting. The shift. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It's a tolerance problem, specifically a low tolerance for uncertainty. And the solution isn't better thinking, it's earlier action. Because here's what's true. Clarity doesn't come before action, it comes after. You do not get to feel certain before you decide. You get to feel certain sometimes once you've already moved. Solution 1. Set a decision boundary. Unlimited time to decide creates unlimited loops. The reason you keep thinking is partly because nothing is forcing you to stop. There's no deadline on the internal deliberation. So it just continues feeding on itself. Change that. Give yourself a defined window to think. And when it closes, you commit to something. Not because you're certain, not because you have all the information, but because you understand now that more time rarely produces more clarity. It usually produces more doubt. Even imperfect decisions move reality forward. And once you're moving, you learn things that no amount of pre action thinking could have told you. Solution to turn the next thought into the next action. Every time you catch yourself thinking, should I do this? Make the next move the smallest possible version of doing it. Send the message. Write the opening line. Make the call. Book the thing. Take one concrete step in the direction of the decision. Action collapses uncertainty in a way thinking never can, because action creates real feedback, real information about what's actually happening rather than what might happen. And real information is the only thing that actually moves you forward. Solution 3. Accept that certainty comes after, not before. This is the most important reframe. Most overthinkers are waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel certain, waiting for the moment when all the variables are known and the right answer is obvious. That moment doesn't come before action. It is not how decisions work. Certainty is something you develop in retrospect, after you've moved, adjusted, learned, and kept going. Waiting for certainty before deciding is like waiting to know how to swim before getting in the water. The knowing only comes from the doing. Uncertainty is not a sign that you need to think more. It's a sign that you need to move. You don't overthink because you're careful. You overthink because your brain treats uncertainty like a threat, and thinking feels like the safest response to a threat. But the thing about uncertainty is it doesn't disappear through thinking. It only gets smaller through experience, through actual contact with reality, through the information that only action can give you. The loop you're in keeps you safe from the specific fear of making the wrong choice, but it costs you something slower and harder to see, all the progress that only happens on the other side of deciding. You don't have to feel ready. You have to move anyway. Next week, why motivation disappears right when you need it most, and the one shift that changes how you think about it completely.